Vishnupad Paramahansa Padavachikachara Sotadasata Shri Shrimad's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON DB Founder Charya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Go Premanandi Hari Hari Bo Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 4th Chapter, Text 17. Mantreshu Mam Va Upahuya Yat Twam Mantreshu Mam Va Upahuya Yat Twam. Okay, then. Akunti Tat Kanda sorry, hang on. Akuntita Kanda Sadatma Bodha. I'll go through the whole thing. Priche Prabhu Mugda Eva Pramatas Tan No Mano Mohayativa Deva. Mantre Sumamba Upahuya Yatwam. Mantre Shumamba Upahuya Yatwam. Akuntita Kanda Sadapma Bodha. Akuntita Kanda Sadapma Bodha. Birchche Prabhu Mugda Eva Pramatas. Birchche Prabhu Mugda Eva Pramatas. Tano Mano Mohayativa Deva. Tano Mano Mohayativa Deva. Mantre Sumamba Upahuya Yatwam. Akuntita Kanda Sadapma Bodha. Birchche Prabhu Mugda Eva Pramatas. Tano Mano Mohayativa Deva. Others, please. Bhirtam Akuntika. Vaishnavis. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Mantreshu in consultation. Mam unto me. By as either. Upahuya by calling. Yat as much as. Twam your lordship. Akuntita without hesitation. Akanda without being separated. Sada eternally. Atma self. Bodha intelligent. Prichche asked. Prabhu, O my Lord. Mugda bewildered. Eva as if it were so. Apramata although never bewildered. Tat that. Na our. Manaha mind. Mohayati bewilders. Eva as it is so. Deva, O my Lord. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. O my Lord, this is Uddhava speaking. O my Lord, your eternal self is never divided by the influence of time, and there is no limitation to your perfect knowledge. Thus, you were sufficiently able to consult with yourself, yet you called upon me for consultation, as if bewildered, although you are never bewildered. And this act of yours bewilders me. Purport. Uddhava was never actually bewildered, but he says that all these contradictions appear to be bewildering. The whole discussion between Krishna and Uddhava was meant for the benefit of Maitreya, who is sitting nearby. The Lord used to call Uddhava for consultation when the city was attacked by Jarasandha and others, and when he executed great sacrifices as part of his routine royal work as Lord of Dwarka. The Lord has no past, present, and future because he is unhampered by the influence of eternal time, and thus nothing is hidden from him. He is eternally self-intelligent. Therefore, his calling for Uddhava to give him enlightenment is certainly astonishing. All these actions of the Lord appear to be contradictory, although there is no contradiction in the routine activities of the Lord. Therefore, it is better to see them as they are and not to attempt to explain them. Om Agyanatamiram Dasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshudun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay, so this is kind of an interesting translation and purport here. In the translation, Uddhava is stating that Krishna, he appeared to be bewildered, and because of that, he's asking advice from Uddhava. What should we do about this situation with Jarasandha, etc.? And but Uddhava is making the point that actually it's impossible for the word bewildered means to be confused or perplexed. So Uddhava is making the point that, but it's impossible for you, Lord, to be bewildered because you're never divided by the influence of time. Your knowledge is perfect, past, present, and future. I think Prabhupada says in the purport, Krishna is eternally, as he put it, not finding it right now, but eternally self-intelligent. Krishna's eternally self-intelligent. He's never bewildered. Past, present, and future, Krishna knows exactly what's going on. So Uddhava is making that point. He appeared to be bewildered. So he's asking Uddhava for advice, but Uddhava is pointing out that, but you don't need my, you don't need my advice. And Uddhava is saying, I'm bewildered. He goes here. You were sufficiently able to consult with yourself, yet you called upon me for consultation, as if bewildered. Although you are never bewildered. That's easy to understand, how Krishna is never bewildered. And then he goes on to say, and this act of yours bewilders me. So Uddhava is saying, but I'm bewildered by that you're doing that. Now, Prabhupada, in the first sentence in the purport, Prabhupada says, actually, he says, Uddhava was never actually bewildered. But he says that all these contradictions appear to be bewildering. So this is interesting. Uddhava is saying that Krishna is not bewildered. He's saying, I'm bewildered. And Prabhupada is saying, actually, no, Uddhava is not bewildered. Right? And we would say, certainly Prabhupada's not bewildered. Right? So Uddhava must be bewildered. How? Because if Prabhupada, he can't be bewildered. If he's saying Uddhava is not bewildered, despite the fact that Uddhava is saying he's bewildered, how could that be so? Well, Prabhupada kind of answers it right here in the purport itself. He says, appear. He says, but he says that all these contradictions appear to be bewildering. Okay? So, in other words, Uddhava is not really bewildered. He's, it's like his bewilderment is like the bewilderment of that Brahmin that Lord Chaitanya met on his tour of South India. Lord Chaitanya went to one temple, and there was a Brahmin there who was given the instruction by his spiritual master to read the entire Bhagavad Gita, I think daily, something like that. And but he couldn't read. So apparently that Brahmin, could not understand the Bhagavad Gita because he couldn't read it. But he was the best understander of the Bhagavad Gita. Everybody knows that story real quick. So, other Brahmins were kind of making fun of him like that. So that Lord Chaitanya, when he saw that Brahmin holding the book and looking at the picture, and tears were coming from his eyes, Lord Chaitanya approached him, and the Brahmin could understand that, okay, he's not coming to make fun of me. He's asking, sincerely. So the Brahmin explained to him, I can't read. My spiritual master gave me this instruction, and so, but because I can't read, I don't understand it. And Lord Chaitanya said, but wait a second. You're saying you don't understand the Bhagavad Gita, but I see you sitting here and you're crying. So what's that all about? And then the Brahmin said, well, yes, I can't read, but I'm sitting, I'm looking at this picture of Krishna. He's become the chariot driver for Arjuna. And when I think of that, how kind and loving and affectionate Krishna is to his devotee, that he would take the position of the chariot driver, which is not like a high, a chariot driver is not a kshatriya. He's not considered also, it's not a high class position. Krishna would take that lowly job to serve his devotee, and he says, I'm overwhelmed by, when I feel emotion, when I look at this picture and I, contemplate what's going on here, that Krishna took that position to help his devotee, and that's why I'm crying. And then Lord Chaitanya was very pleased with his answer. Lord Chaitanya embraced him and said, actually, no, forget about these other guys over here. You're the real understander of the Bhagavad Gita. You really understand the Bhagavad Gita. See? Couldn't read. So Uddhava was bewildered like that. He's saying, I'm bewildered. What he really, but Prabhupada says, apparently, he appears to be bewildered. Really, what he's expressing here is, he's appreciating how wonderful Krishna is. How wonderful it's bewildering to him how wonderful Krishna is. That's what's bewildering. He's not bewildered by, how can this? He's bewildered how wonderful Krishna is, that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As Prabhupada says here in the purport, he's eternally self-intelligent, yet he's consulting. He's consulting with his devotees. And Uddhava is like that Brahmin in that, in that story. He's overwhelmed. That Brahma was overwhelmed by feelings of love for Krishna, just contemplating how he was so kind and affectionate and loving to his devotees. Same way, same thing. Uddhava's appreciating like that. He's thinking, wow, Krishna is so amazing, wonderful. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's eternally self-intelligent, yet he's consulting. He's so kind and loving that he desires so much, desiring to have like these loving exchanges with his devotees, that although there's absolutely no necessity on his part, he's consulting his devotees like that. So Uddhava's, quote unquote, bewildered by that. He's, appreciating that. So that's, I think, the way that needs to be understood. And, that's there potentially for everybody. Everybody could enter into that understanding that Brahman had and that Uddhava had, but there's a qualification. And I'm going to read something. I'm going to read an excerpt from a lecture Prabhupada gave in 1966, where he touches upon, well, more than touches upon, he kind of gives insight into what that qualification is. Okay, so this is, as I said, a lecture Prabhupada gave in 1966. He says, you can see God, but how? It depends upon how much you have surrendered to God, how much qualification you have acquired for seeing God. Seeing God is not very difficult, but at the same time, it is very difficult. And he gives an example. He says, just like if you want to see President Johnson, if I am unknown to him, I will have to take so many formalities. I will have to write to his secretary, and the secretary will give me some time, or may not give me some time. So many things. But if you are personally known to President Johnson, you are intimately thick and thin with him. As soon as you call him, Mr. Johnson, I want to see you. And he goes, yes, you can come. So Prabhupada goes on, says, so it depends on the thick and thinship of your relations with the Supreme Lord. Nice expression. The thick and thinship of your relations with the Supreme Lord. If you can establish your relationship with the Supreme Lord in love, and then he digresses, he says, the Lord does not require our cooperation. He is full in himself. So it's like in this example Uddhava is giving. Krishna didn't require to consult Uddhava for what to do. He's eternally self-intelligent. But it says here, he doesn't require my service, but still, if you love him, then he reciprocates. So that's what was going on here with that Brahman and the story with Lord Chaitanya, and particularly with Uddhava here and Krishna. So our reciprocation with the Lord depends on the proportion of our love of Godhead. This love of Godhead can be attained by Krishna consciousness. So that's the understanding of Uddhava. Uddhava was had the privilege of being that close to Krishna because he had that thick and thin relationship. Uddhava and Krishna like this, and even closer. See? So he could, Krishna's consulting him. Now that's a point. Now this is happening, Uddhava is speaking to Krishna in the presence of Maitreya Muni. Okay? And Prabhupada points out in the purport here that this, he says, the whole discussion between Krishna and Uddhava was meant for the benefit of Maitreya, who was sitting nearby. So, Maitreya Muni was a devotee. We heard that stated earlier. But he wasn't a pure devotee. He was was a Jnana Mishra Bhakta. So, this was done for the benefit of Maitreya Muni. So, with that, my understanding of that would be that Krishna is trying to elevate Maitreya Muni to the platform of pure devotional service. Uddhava is already on the platform of pure devotional service. Of course, Krishna doesn't need anybody's help to do that. Krishna doesn't need Maitreya Muni, doesn't need Uddhava to do anything or Maitreya Muni to do anything. He could do it just by willing that, but that's not how he works. 2 points involved here. One is that expression in English, takes two to tango, right? Krishna wants this reciprocation from the living entity. Krishna could have just, he's in the Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, Krishna says, to those who to those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me. Out of compassion for them, I, dwelling within their heart, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So Krishna doesn't need anybody's help to enlighten somebody. He can enlighten any soul at any time, in any, whenever he wants. But he wants to see that, he wants to see that soul wants it, that they're properly using their free will, that they're desiring to be in that relationship. Then Krishna. So that was one point. The other point is that Uddhava, which we kind of already touched upon, that Krishna's doing this with Uddhava. Why does, if he wants to, because it says here, it's this whole conversation was meant for the benefit of Maitreya. So Krishna doesn't have to be in a conversation to benefit Maitreya. He could have spoke to Maitreya directly. See, or he could have just looked at Maitreya, like Lord Chaitanya used to do, just look at somebody and he could have, blessed him, benedicted him with pure devotional service. But he's doing it like this. One reason, as we just mentioned, to give Maitreya Muni a chance to properly use his free will and become attracted and engage, and also to have this relationship with Uddhava. You see? Uddhava doesn't have to be in the picture, but Krishna, he likes to do things with his devotees. He enjoys being with his pure devotees so much. So he's doing like this with Uddhava, but it's for the benefit of Maitreya Muni. An example of that comes to my mind is from my own experiences, just like when we go out on Sankirtan sometimes. Not sometimes, all the time. Where I'm go out with Sachin and or Ananda Kirtan, and we'll be at the book table, and so for instance, say it's me, I stop somebody, and I tell them about the books. I'm trying to get them to take some books and give a donation, and they're showing interest, and so then it comes to the point where I say, well, can you give a donation? We'd like you to have these books. Please just give a donation. And they respond, well, yeah, I really like to, but I don't have any cash. I don't have any money. And now, so the job of the distributor is to try to help the person, in the sense that we know that, they're interested. They actually want, but they're attached at the same time. So and this is the position of a lot of people in the material world. They want Krishna, they want to advance in spiritual life, but they're attached at the same time. So despite the fact that the person, he actually wants the books, he's attached, so he doesn't want to give up his money. So he'll say, okay, I don't have any money. So I could just say, oh, wow, what a shame. Do you have any other form of payment? And they could just say no, and that's the end of it. But to help them, we do something a little bit more clever than that, First of all, they teach you, when you learn about sales, they teach you never ask a question that somebody could answer no. So I don't do that. I would never say, well, do you have any other way you can pay? No. This is what we do. And this is I think what's going on here. I say to them, oh, yeah. I said, well, you don't have any money. He says, yeah, what's going on? Nobody has any money here in this school. Nobody carries any money. What's going on? And they say, oh, yeah, that's because we all use cards. We all use a card. And I say, oh, yeah, so you use your card to pay for everything. He goes, yeah, I just use my card for everything. And then I say, hey, Sachi, credit card. Credit cards, thank you. Yeah, I didn't say clearly. So he's telling me, I'm pulling it out of him. I said, yeah, I just use my credit card to pay for everything. So I say, hey, well, hang on a second. Hey, Sachi, no, do we accept card? Now, I know darn well that we accept card. But I say, Sachi, do we accept card? And he looks over at me and says, yeah, sure, card's okay. Then I look back and say, oh, yeah, card's okay. Is your card credit or debit? And then they say, or whatever, And I say, okay, yeah, we could do that. And they hand me the card. And then sometimes they try to even squirm out of it. Then they'll say, well, actually, they say, first of all, they might say credit and say, oh, actually, it's debit. I say, no problem. I'll just change the setting here, and we get them. So it's like that. We're trying to help them. Somebody might think, oh, well, isn't that a little bit tricky or what's the word? No, it's not cheating. It's not cheating. It's tactic. It was actually in 1975, Prabhupada met with the book distributors in Atlanta, and one of them said, Prabhupada, we're trying to make our methods of book distribution more honest and straightforward, and so people don't feel cheated. And Prabhupada says, no, there's no question of cheating. He said, he gave the example of a mother, if she's she has a child that's sick, so that she says, look, take this medicine, and I'll give you the luglu. And the child goes along with it. And of course, Prabhupada says, but then the luglu is not delivered. So Prabhupada says, that is not cheating. That is tactics. That's how he put it. So devotees, and he said, and then Prabhupada went on to make the point in that exchange that's, Rupa Goswami, we're following that principle of Rupa Goswami, yena tena prakarena mana Krishna navesya, that somehow or another we have to engage people in Krishna's service, and then like that, everything's okay. So in that way, it's not, I don't think Krishna and Uddhava are necessarily trying to be sneaky here, but this is being done for the benefit of Maitreya. He's not on that same level as, Maitreya is not on the level of Uddhava. Uddhava is not just any old pure devotee, he's a confidential associate of the Lord. We heard in one of the previous purports that, an expansion of Uddhava was a Vasu, and he's some very special type of devotee, Uddhava. But Maitreya is not on that level, so Krishna and Uddhava, it's like a pastime. Between them two, it's a pastime. And the purpose is they're trying to help Uddhava. They're trying to elevate Maitreya to this platform of pure devotional service, to give him a chance to, he has free will. He could not. He could just kind of, stay back there and just kind of think, oh, that's interesting. But he could enter, maybe by Uddhava saying that he's bewildered, Maitreya, I don't know, I haven't read forward, he could think, well, he's admitting he's, not understanding. Maybe I could say something, and, he doesn't feel embarrassed to say, well, I have a question too, or I'd like to get something clarified as well. It's an opportunity for Maitreya to kind of enter into the whole thing, enter into this exchange of pure devotional service. So that's how I'm understanding what's going on here. And actually, this is like, this is not something that's, what's the word? This is very characteristic of the Lord and pure devotees, specifically that they're always trying to do something for the benefit of those people who are not already on the platform of pure devotional service. This is Krishna and Uddhava trying to do this for the benefit of Maitreya, but that's what goes on among, with the Lord and the devotees. Prabhupada is a great example of that. Prabhupada gave us all these, the books for our benefit. It's for the benefit of the conditioned souls. This sort of occurred to me earlier this morning. Back during the time of Lord Chaitanya, we just maybe a week or so ago, we heard that when Lord Chaitanya was touring South India, when all the people he came in contact with, they became Krishna conscious. They received Bhakti Shakti, which is a combination of the Chit and the Ananda potency, the knowledge and the pleasure potency combined. And they received that by just coming in contact with Lord Chaitanya. And then when those people went back to their village and people met them, they received the Bhakti Shakti. And then when people met those people, right, they received the Bhakti Shakti. They became Krishna conscious. It's like sort of like a spiritual pandemic. Just like somebody has COVID and they meet somebody who has COVID and they get COVID, and then they meet somebody and that person gets COVID from that person. But this is like an epidemic in a good way. They caught Krishna consciousness from Lord Chaitanya, and those people who caught Krishna consciousness from Lord Chaitanya gave it to other people, and those people gave it to other people, and the people, in the case of COVID, the people who were unfortunate catch it, but in the case of the Krishna conscious epidemic, the people who are unfortunate don't catch it. COVID is a bad thing, and if you catch it, it's a bad thing. But Krishna consciousness, Bhakti Shakti, is a good thing, and if you catch it, you're fortunate. So anyway, that's the way it was working as described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, during the time of Lord Chaitanya, that's how Krishna consciousness spread, right? That's what it says. And it spread like that. It doesn't mention anything about books being distributed. So, but somehow or another, Prabhupada was given that instruction by his spiritual master to write books and have them distributed. And, sometimes made me ask, well, how come the movements isn't spreading the way it was spreading 500 years ago when Lord Chaitanya was here? I mean, certainly Prabhupada had Bhakti Shakti. How come people who came in contact with him didn't get the Bhakti Shakti and then give it to the people who met them, got the... I don't know for sure. I mean, I just started first thinking about it this morning, just before the class. But, it does say in Prabhupada's pranam mantra, it says, Nirvishesha Sunyavadi, that people here in the West are very much influenced by voidism and impersonalism. So, maybe that's something to do with how covered over the people in Kali Yuga are now, as opposed to the way they were just, say, 500 years ago. But in any event, that Bhakti Shakti is there in Prabhupada's books. You see? So if we weren't fortunate enough, when I say we, I mean the human race or people in general weren't fortunate enough to get that Bhakti Shakti directly from Prabhupada and become like Krishna conscious. Some people perhaps were, But in general, the Bhakti Shakti is in Prabhupada's books. When you read Prabhupada's books, there's Bhakti Shakti. And you can get that from, and that's why, people become devotees as a result of reading these books. Because it's not just, as Prabhupada said, it's not just A, B, C, D. He has to think, he thought carefully, and he's putting his devotional potency in the books. And that's why when you read the books, you become enlivened and inspired. Because there's the Bhakti Shakti's in the books. So that's another example of how not just Krishna and Uddhava, but devotees in general, Lord Chaitanya, predecessor acharyas, Prabhupada, how they're trying to do things that are meant for the benefit of the general populace. So that's kind of very characteristics of pure devotees. So I'll stop there. Does anybody have any question? That should annoy. Okay.
If nobody has a question, I have a comment. So, everything that you just said, everything that Krishna does is for the benefit of everyone. So, there was a recollection, my memory came to me that because the class at the beginning you were saying is the bewildering factor. So Prabhupada said, no, he's not bewildered, but Uddhava said he was bewildered. And then all these things, so it just came to my mind about an incident that happened when in the Srimad Bhagavatam it says that Ashvatthama killed the children of Draupadi, and then after that Arjuna went after him, and then he brought him back, and obviously he wants to kill him. Draupadi doesn't want, and she gives all the reasons why he shouldn't be killed, because he's the son of our guru, and he's a brahmana. And she says, I'm a mother, and I can feel what the mother felt after that, so don't kill him. But Bhima says, kill him. And Yudhishthira doesn't want, Krishna wants, so Arjuna appears to be in a very bewildering situation, what to do. So then, the point that comes here that I still have maybe a question or doubt is that Arjuna doesn't know, but Krishna says, okay, Arjuna, kill him in such a way that you please everyone, something like that. So he has to do something in which everyone is pleased. But how is he going to do it? What does that intelligence come from? So my understanding is that actually Krishna within the heart of the pure devotee acts. But then the question is, if Krishna is doing that, that means that Arjuna doesn't have the free will right there. Because it's Krishna deciding. He's inspiring him. Can you comment on that?
Well, okay.
Do you understand?
I mean, yeah. So clearly what was going on there is not a question of it wasn't a court where they were trying to make, decide what justice was. I mean, he was going to be punished. And so, it seemed like Krishna was more concerned with interacting with his devotees, Arjuna, Draupadi, Bhima, Yudhishthira. It was like, it's a Leela. They were, he was interacting with them. And the big thing was, I think, overshadows the issue of what's the justice here for this person. He was going to be punished one way or the other. He's going to get punished, whether he was killed on the spot or just humiliated or whatever, he's going to get punished. And Krishna's interacting with his devotees. So that, you kind of brought that out. And the other thing is, Archie's got something to say. Arjuna still had free will there. I mean, he could have not taken Krishna's lead. I don't know. On that second one, I really can't think of anything intelligent to say in response to your kind of question. Archita.
Everyone is acting on the prompting of the supersoul. We know that. Even the ant, the flies, the elephants, everybody's acting on the prompting of the supersoul. Mm-hmm. The difference between the pure devotee and the conditioned soul is that the pure devotee does exactly what Krishna wants to do. We all have this conscience. You go into a situation and you're hearing inside, don't do this. And you've been trained not to do it, like a thief. But because the will to enjoy separately from God is so strong, we go against that. So Krishna says, actually, the thief wants to steal and he's praying to me, please give me the intelligence how to get into this house and steal. And the householder doesn't want this stuff stolen, and he's asking for the intelligence how to protect his house so it's not stolen. So Krishna has to satisfy everybody. In every case, Krishna is prompting. But those who are conditioned, they don't want to hear what God wants. They want to hear how to do what they want to do. So Krishna says, okay, I'm telling you don't do it, don't steal. But you really want to steal, so here, okay. You pop the hood and you do this and you turn on the ignition, you jump in the car and drive away. So you do that, because that's what you really want to do. You don't want to hear, don't do it. Whereas the pure devotees, they want to hear from Krishna what Krishna wants them to do, and they do it. That's the difference. Everybody's hearing from Krishna internally. So everybody has free will. The pure devotees follow Krishna freely because they really want to please him. It's like if you really want to please somebody, then you ask them, what can I do to please you? You don't just speculate. So the pure devotees, they don't speculate. They want to know from Krishna what to do to please you. So Krishna tells them, and they do it. It's not always what we think would be pleasing. Like when Krishna told Arjuna to kill Karna when he came off the cart, that's not necessarily agreeable to everybody. Many people think that's horrible. How could Krishna tell him to do? How could Krishna tell Arjuna to fight in the first place? Why not just let him go to the forest and, hang out like he wanted to and not fight? But the pure devotees want to do what Krishna wants them to do because they know that's what pleases Krishna. Even if it doesn't please our sense of what's right and wrong or proper or improper or whatever.
So
they do what Krishna wants them to do.
Is the direct answer to his question then that internally Arjuna was desiring that I want to do what's going to...
Yeah, he still has free will. No, his question was, does Arjuna have free will or not? Because, Krishna already decided and he's just doing that. But that's what makes you a pure devotee, to do what Krishna decides, what Krishna wants. Krishna says in the Gita, for those who have controlled the mind, the super soul is already reached. So if you control your mind, then you'll hear clearly what Krishna wants you to do, and you'll do it voluntarily. It doesn't mean that your free will is gone, but you want to know what Krishna wants, you want to do what Krishna wants, and then Krishna tells you what he wants, and then you do it. Freely. It's not that your free will is not there.
Make sense? Okay. We have time for a last thing, I guess. Prema Sankirtan. Yeah, one last comment or question.
What is difference between Arjuna and South Indian Brahmana? Arjuna, he heard Bhagavad Gita and is pure devotee, he understands everything.
Yeah.
And Brahmana, he was just crying and he cannot read. What's the difference between these two? I mean, both of them are pure devotee, but still.
I don't see any difference.
Yeah,
that Brahmin, he had the proper appreciation. He came to the correct conclusion. Just like Arjuna came to the correct conclusion. Of course, that was all staged, but Arjuna came to the correct conclusion, and that Brahmin, even though he couldn't read, he came to the correct understanding. So, in essence, they're the same.
So, more we read Srila Prabhupada books, more we are empowered to distribute books. More we are reading Srila Prabhupada books, more empowered. Yeah. Okay.
It's common. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.